Welcome to Moose Plays, everyone. I'm the Liquor Moose, and today we will be going over my Week 2 match for the 5th season of the PDL. This week we are going up against my good pal, Kyle. We have some, personal history. I mean, we're friends from high school, so we've known each other for quite a bit. And, so it's really cool to be playing just a friend, like a good friend that I've had for pretty much close to 10 years of my life. Jesus, I did not know it was that long. Holy crap. But yeah, so as far as Kyle's background to the game goes, he's actually mostly a VGC player, and he does actually play quite competitively in VGC, or at least he used to. Now he's, I think, focusing a little bit more on school. But yeah, he definitely used to play a lot of VGC, which is definitely apparent from his draft, I'm not going to lie, as his draft is everything you see in front of you, which, by the way, this is a Mega Manectric, not a regular Manectric. And then on the bench, he left Nihilego, Latias, and Gastrodon. So, him only having 9 Pokemon on this team definitely made it a lot easier in prep. I'm not gonna lie. Like, there's a few 9-point Pokemon, there's a few 9 Pokemon drafts in this league this year, and yeah, like just seeing how easy it was, or like how much like less stressful it was to prep for this match. I'm definitely looking forward to prepping for the other two. For the other two 9 Pokemon matches. But yeah, anyways, going on to my team, we have a fire Manaphy this week. I'm not gonna lie. We have a once again a Tail Glow Manaphy with Rain Dance this time to clear away the Toxic from the Gastrodon. Did he bring it? Like, if he chose to bring it, which he did not. And then at the same time, we have Surf and Energy Ball specifically for that Gastrodon, and we are holding an Adrenaline Orb because. Look at this. He has a Landorus T, an Arcanine, and a Mega Manectric. Obviously, Arcanine's not going to want to revenge kill this, but if he wants to revenge this with either the Mega Manectric or the Landorus T, depending on my health, obviously, if that Lando is Scarfed, then they will pop my Adrenaline Orb, and I will outspeed them and be able to revenge them both with Surf. And that is just an insane... It was just like, once I saw Kyle's draft and he had 3 Intimidate users on it, I immediately just said, even before... Like, I knew I played in week 2, but even just like post-draft, I was like, I'm 100% bringing Adrenaline Orb against Kyle at some point, and it was definitely best suited on Manaphy. But yeah, to help aid Manaphy set up with Tail Glow, we do have Silvally, which is ground type, which is meant to be my dedicated Mega Manectric switch in, as we are relatively especially defensive investment. We have it's also our defogger for the match, as ground does conveniently resist rocks as well, so I'm not taking too much from Stealth Rock if he does decide to bring it, which would be a dumb decision if he didn't, because like honestly nowadays rocks are kind of mandatory. Now that I'm saying that, I'm kind of hypocritical because now I'm remembering I don't have rocks on this team. But anyways, so Silvally is our defogger this match, but also it helps Manaphy set up in the form of Parting Shot, which gives me a lot of momentum. And then we have multi-attack to be able to just fire off super effective ground hits. He already has 3 ground weak Pokemon on this team. And then his only ground resist, which is an immunity, is his Landorus actually on his entire roster, and I guess Latias as well. So to be able to hit both of them, I also have Ice Fang as some cool tech for them. And then, like I said, he doesn't really have good ground answers, so Zydog was a pretty obvious bring here. We are pretty standard Life Orb with 4 attacks. We just have 1,000 Arrows, Extreme Speed, Outrage, and then we didn't even need Crunch since his his psychic types are Metagross and Latias, which are weak to just my stabs of Ground and Dragon. So we also have Earthquake, so when Landorus goes down, we have a stronger attack to fire off instead of just 1,000 arrows. And then past that, we do have a sort of like mixed defensive leaning towards physically defensive Incineroar, because it's actually an insane Weavile answer, and also has a pretty good added bonus of being able to switch into Arcanine relatively well. We are holding leftovers since we do want to get some just a bit of recovery residual. That's the stupid word I'm looking for. So yeah, we have knockoff, U-turn, flare blitz, and oh my goodness, why don't I remember the last move? Knockoff, U-turn, flare blitz, and I want to say it was fake out to get a little more HP back. But yeah, so past that we do have once again a mixed defensive Scizor. As it's meant to, we are running Pursuit on this thing because my initial thought was we need to Pursuit Trap the Latias in order for my Manaphy to sweep. Luckily, his Latios didn't come. He still has a dark weakness in his Metagross, which I did make mixed defensive specifically because looking at the rest of my team, I didn't really have a great Metagross switch in. So that's the reason it's mixed. Unfortunately, the special defense investment not really looking too useful since his Latios isn't there. As the only thing the Latios could have done, since I also pack Roost, is HP Fire, but I would obviously scout for that. Since I made Incineroar also mixed defensive, I made Incineroar mixed defensive for the sole purpose of being able to pivot into Latios if I absolutely had to. And then finally, his whole team gets decimated by 4 attacks, Mega Diancie. We have Moonblast and Power Gem for stabs, and then we have Earth Power specifically for his Metagross and Nihilego, and then we have HP Ice for oh my goodness, for his Landorus. Obviously, Gastrodon would have been an issue, but we do have Energy Ball and Manaphy once we get set up, so that's perfectly fine. So looking at the lead matchup, I kind of expect him to lead with either the Megaane or the Incineroar, or sorry, not the Incineroar, the Lando. So in either case, I think Scizor is a fine lead. If he does lead Megaane, I have a very easy pivot into my Silvally Ground, which is perfectly fine. And if he is Landorus, I can just U-turn on either his U-turn to get momentum on him, or after he Earthquakes, so nothing on my team has to take a giant ass hit. So I do decide to lead with Scizor, as Kyle does decide to lead with his Landorus T. And like I said, I do decide to fire off the U-turn here, as we do see here that Kyle does go for the U-turn first. So we do get momentum on him, as he does bring in the obvious switch in to Scizor, which is his Arcanine. I'm going to take this opportunity to go into my Incineroar here, as last week he did bring offensive Arcanine, so I did want to cover that grounds, even though I couldn't really tell how much damage this did because I was at -2, and then obviously U-turn from Scizor doesn't really do a whole lot to Arcanine anyways, so I couldn't really tell what kind of Arcanine this is, other than it had a little bit of bulk investment. But he could still be offensive with that kind of with a little bit of bulk investment. So to cover that ground, I do go into my Incineroar, and I do decide to fire off a knockoff here to basically claim an item on something. And he does give me the item on Landorus, which is one of his Z Pokemon, which I thought was the reason he went into it, but he actually shows Assault Vest here. So fearing Earthquake, I'm just going to switch back into my Scizor, since I obviously I want to keep this thing healthy for the Weaviles, since that could potentially be a big threat. So I do switch into Scizor here, and we see some whack-ass prep from Kyle. He has AV Rocks, and I asked him about that, and he said that he did that basically because he expected me to run knockoff. That is some sketchy prep if I ever did see some. Say what you want about it. I personally think he was just trying to cover up for a mess up in team building, but anyways, besides that sketchy ass prep, same logic here. If he U-turns, then I get momentum on him, and if he doesn't, then I still get momentum on him, but without anything else having to take a big ass Earthquake to the face. So I do click the U-turn button, and like we do see here, Kyle does just go for the Earthquake, which from that damage does tell me that he is an offensive Landorus. So I do switch into my Mega Diancie here, as without the Assault Vest on, even if he's max HP, this HP Ice is a guaranteed kill. So I do just click the HP Ice button, as this is a pretty big threat, so I can't really play around with it. But luckily, Kyle does decide to let his Landorus go down, which is huge. So we are ahead 6-5, and as we do see here, he does go into Metagross, which is a perfectly obvious play. Not much I could do about it, but I do go into my Scizor. Yes, I do go into my Scizor, which is kind of the reason. I was kind of planning to sack it off, and was basically it's the reason I even have defense investment at all here. So he doubles out into Conkeldurr here, which I'm not too sure what he was trying to predict. But yeah, so I do decide to fire off a Roost here, as Mach Punch can't kill from here, and if he has Fire Punch, then I can already see that he has it. Just looking at the rest of my team, my Scizor is definitely my most expendable member, as I can still use Incineroar to check the Weavile, and even with Metagross still there, I do always have Zydogo in the back to be able to fire off super effective ground hits on it. As now that his Landorus is gone, I'm pretty free to spam Earthquake instead of needing 1,000 arrows, so that's always a good thing for me. So I do intend to fire off the Roost here, basically to scout to see what this Conkeldurr wants to do. As we do see here, he goes for Drain Punch, and that damage definitely tells me he is max attack Adamant Iron Fist. So I keep spamming Roost here because I kind of want to get a little more intel on this item, or on this Conkeldurr, which is really good since I know that he has knockoff now. So now I can't freely switch in Manaphy to try to set up on this because I really need the Adrenaline Orb in order to be able to revenge kill the Manectric. So I do once again just fire off the Roost. Again, I'm not really playing around with this, I just want to keep my Scizor relatively healthy if I can. So he does switch into his Arcanine, and instead of pivoting into oh my goodness, into my Incineroar, which will take rocks damage, I do instead decide to pivot into my Silvally here, as even though like Will-O-Wisp is relatively free on Kyle's part, I do decide like it's definitely the thing I want to get burned the most without like risking anything, because like I guess Manaphy I could risk getting burned, it would be better than getting toxic by anything. And then switching in Megaane, kind of the same thing, but it's risking taking a close combat to the face in case Kyle does carry that. So I do decide to switch into my Silvally, as it's definitely the it's not the most expendable thing, as I would still like it around to pivot into Mega Manectric, but it's definitely the thing I want burned the most, just considering my team. And obviously, like, I could switch in the Incineroar here, but I do want to get rid of these rocks because they're going to be a real pain in the ass to my Incineroar, which in my opinion I think I'm going to need a lot later for his remaining Arcanine and his Weavile. So again, like I said, I just pivot out into this, mostly to get a defog off. But as we do see here, Kyle actually goes for the extreme speed. I'm not really too sure what he was trying to do there, but either way, I do defog these rocks away. And like as predicted, Kyle does fire off the Will-O-Wisp to burn me, which is no big deal. Now, I believe here I do go for the parting shot. Yes, I go for the parting shot as Kyle pivots out into his Conkeldurr, so that gives me a lot of momentum. And I did think about kind of pulling the trigger and setting up here with Manaphy, but like I said, like this was the point where I was like, no, I can't risk him going for a knockoff because I definitely need the Adrenaline Orb. Because even if I do go to +3, like last week, I am like max HP, max speed, or like close to it on my Manaphy. So even if he is Assault Vest, which again I have no information on this, Conkeldurr as of yet. So if he is max HP, if he's max HP Assault Vest, then at +3 my Surf can't kill from here. And again, like even especially at -1 attack, his Conkeldurr can't do much to my Manaphy. But like I said, I need the Adrenaline Orb to be able to revenge kill his Manectric. So instead, what I'm going to do is go into my Megaane as kind of the same thought process, because with the -1 attack, he can't really hurt my Megaane too much, and it's a pretty free Moonblast here, even though it's pretty obvious that he's going to go into this Metagross, and that damage reveals that he is max HP. So I am going to pivot out into my Scizor, as it's at this point my dedicated response to this. He goes for Meteor Mash, and that is 100% Choice Banded damage, Adamant Choice Band. So I actually think he's going to switch out here, so I do intend to fire off the Pursuit to try to trap him and potentially kill this thing, but Kyle actually stays in and goes for a second Meteor Mash, as luckily I do score a crit on this Metagross, which doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. I do intend to click Roost here, as that Meteor Mash was actually a roll to kill. I was fine with letting my Scizor go down here, but like we do see here, obviously I did get the roll, and luckily I can keep my Scizor around to try to pivot into more things. Now on this turn, I did think about trying to Pursuit Trap that oh my goodness, the Metagross, but like I said, like if I have the opportunity to keep my Scizor healthy, I might as well take it, especially seeing I have very, very good pivots on my team, just to the rest of his. So I do click the Roost button here, and he does send in the Arcanine, and now that rocks aren't up, this is definitely a free Incineroar for me, as this Arcanine, after the Intimidate drop, cannot do anything to me. So predicting him to switch out, I do fire off the U-turn, and as we do see here, the U-turn damage does confirm that he is max HP. So at this point, I go into my Megaane. Again, even though he's not at -1 attack, he's still not doing a ridiculous amount to me. And if he is max HP Assault Vest, then Moonblast is actually a roll to kill from here. I only needed a little bit of ship damage, so I do fire off the Moonblast, even if he does go into Metagross. I believe it's a roll to kill the Metagross, I'm not too sure, but either way, at that point, then it's at a very low amount of health, and I can easily switch into the Scizor to revenge kill it. But like we do see here, Kyle does stay in, and we get the roll. Assuming he was Assault Vest, I actually don't know his set, and we are head 6-5, which is great. So he goes into his Mega Manectric. This is an easy Silvally play for me, so I'm not going to play around with that. As we do see here, he fires off a Thunderbolt, which is perfect. And now we're going to see something cool, as I didn't know that this could happen. So I'm going to fire off the Parting Shot to try to get momentum, but Kyle actually goes into his Metagross, and my Parting Shot just fails. So what I thought was going to happen, like I did kind of see this situation happening, but what I thought was actually going to happen was Clear Body would trigger, and he wouldn't get the stat drops, but I would still be able to switch out. But instead, my Savali's kind of caught dead in the water, which doesn't really matter, as again, I have a very easy pivot into my Scizor here, as he actually locks himself into Bullet Punch, which is really good, because now I can for sure Pursuit Trap this thing, because he's not staying in to try to kill this thing with just Bullet Punches. So now that we see that, again, this is a very easy pivot into my Silvally, and now is the time, boys and girls. Now is the time we've all been waiting for, because with his Metagross gone, this is an easy Parting Shot here. And if he goes into the Arcanine like he does, this is a very free time for me to set up with my Manaphy. And oh boy, I was so excited to see this happen, because this was something I've been planning pretty much since after the draft. I go for the Tail Glow, and Kyle actually fires off the Will-O-Wisp, as realistically, even if he had Wild Charge, he doesn't know my item. I did bring Wakan Berry last week, so he could think I'm that again. So Will-O-Wisp was probably the best thing he had to hit me. So yeah, again, Surf is 100% free for me, like it's not even close. He goes for the Extreme Speed, try to get some damage off before he knows that he's going to go down. And yeah, that Arcanine goes down, and now is the time, ladies and gentlemen. Kyle is going to try to go into his Mega Manectric to revenge kill. He gets the Intimidate, and my Adrenaline Orb pops, and we 100% outspeed both this and the Weavile. And my Manaphy is going to be able to sweep the game with Surf, and wow, this was quite the game. So yeah, we're going to see here that Kyle goes for Fake Out, just try to, you know, try for anything to try to get back into the game, but no, Manaphy is just too bulky to let that happen. So Manaphy is going to be able to clean up the game with Surf, and that is going to be a GG to Kyle. And wow, after a very close 2-0 match last week, we come back absolutely body bagging week 2, and wow, that was a good game, because let me tell you, the day we played this, I needed to blow off some steam from a frustrating lab at school. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, I was in the mood to kick some ass that day, and luckily I did. And we get rewarded with a 6-0 win, which is fantastic. So yeah, again, GG to Kyle. And yeah, so I guess not too much to say about this. So yeah, I guess really good job to Manaphy and Megaane. They picked up 3 and 2 kills respectively, and then Scizor got 1. But yeah, honestly, other than that Scizor pursuit kill, literally the entire season so far, I know it's only 2 games, but so far Manaphy and Megaane have gotten all the rest of my team's kills, which is kind of insane considering how I normally play is the total opposite of that. Yeah, I'll go into that like in some later videos, but yeah. So that's it for this week. Next week in PDL, we will be going up against Liam, which was our first round playoff opponent from last year. So yeah, keep your guys on the channel for the PDL match next week, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.